What's up, good people, and welcome back to Big Gold Belt Media for another recap review series, which this time we're jumping into one of my favorite shows that I didn't review, but we talked about it for a while after the show was done. And I had no clue they were going to come back with a season 2. So now we're on it because we're here to talk about Your Honor season 2, which is going to be premiering on Showtime January 15th. And then non-linear on other platforms January 13th. So y'all know what we do here, Lucas and I. We take each episode after the episode aired and release our recap review of that episode, which tonight we're going to be tackling episode 1 of season 2, which is titled Part 11. So before you even get into season 2, please check out season 1 because it's impossible to understand the dynamics of certain characters, really the gist of the plot, and then when you talk about Bryan Cranston's character, understanding why he's mentally in the space that he's in now, you have to check out season 1. But last thing I do want to say is that this was always labeled as a limited series with Showtime, and I remember me and Lucas, we cover a bunch of shows, but we always talk about a bunch of other shows that we just like, but probably don't ever cover. There's a couple I know he would just be like, yeah, you don't talk about 911, which is my favorite show. Your Honor was one of my favorite show. All Rise was another show that I loved. And when I talked about Your Honor, I said it was one of my favorite shows that year. It was really good. I just enjoyed it, and I just didn't feel like discussing it. But hey, where would I be having an outlet if I did not discuss some of the shows I like? But listen, it's really not my fault because Showtime really labeled that as a limited series. They never ever had any indication that they were coming back with a season 2. And I even remember looking on Twitter like, "Dag, y'all just gonna leave it with a cliffhanger like that?" And I would have been fine with that because sometimes it just has to be that way. But now that we're back for season 2, after the numerous awards, the numerous nominations that the show had, even though the Rotten Tomato score, which I just quickly looked at, wasn't so high, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm like the best judge of things, but man, I didn't realize people were very well, it's about 50%, so it's like half and half, but I thought it was much more leaning towards the positive side.
It was blown like a blowaway type of shit. It's Your Honor was what they called perfect pandemic television.
Okay.
It was at a time where this genre of mystery was taking off, and it was the who done it type of mystery. Like it was the show with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant on HBO, The Undoing, stuff like that. All of these shows kind of fit in that same mold, and this was what people really superly binged when the pandemic was going on. So while Your Honor isn't critically a great show, its audience reception was better because audiences really got into the show. So it kind of is the split between, what people like us, unfortunately, I have to say, critics think, versus what the audience thought. And the audience was like, oh, it may have its flaws, but it's engaging television. And that's what you want more than anything else. It doesn't matter if you say, hey, it's not the best written thing in the world.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find it was hard to find shows that were better acted than this show was. And it threw people off because they're like, wait a minute, why is the score so low here? Like, we're seeing great performances here.
Yeah.
It's a super intriguing story. Like, what's the issue here? And, it's not Breaking Bad, and it has Bryan Cranston. What'd you expect? Critics to say.
Yeah. I think when folks, if this is your first time even hearing about this series, I think when you go back to shows like Scandal, which I thought was one of the most enjoyable shows of that time. Although I thought How to Get Away with Murder was always the better show. But Scandal was the more popular show, and I think the engagement with Scandal is very relatable to this because you're very much on edge for the drama, the twists and turns. And while they both have a political background, they don't really get into it too heavy. So you don't have to know much about politics to enjoy the ramifications of politics, especially when you talk about politics in New Orleans here.
But You really don't need to know that. I don't want people to have to think who didn't. One, if you don't know season one, you had to be living under some form of a rock. The show trended on Twitter every episode. I didn't care. You couldn't avoid the names of these characters being thrown out there. But just in case you have it, and don't think that this is such a heavy show that you have to know certain things to get into it. Turn on the first episode if you didn't see season one. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
After that first episode, it kind of hooks you from the beginning. And when it hooks you, it becomes the murder whodunit that most people love. And then it just twists into something that most murder whodunits don't twist into, which is, oh, we know who did it, but boy, are we going to throw so many different angles at stuff to you for you to figure out what's going on and how far a father will go to protect their child. Like, it's so many of those elements in it. It's an easily watchable show that most people can get into with no issue. And now we have a season 2 when, as you said, this was supposed to be a limited series. Do you know how successful something has to be for them to say, hey, we know we only did this for one season, but nah, we're going to come back and give you another season because it's too big of a show.
It just never happens this way. But I'm happy and very, very excited to review and recap this season with you. But yeah, totally. Folks, I have no clue why the Rotten Tomatoes score is what it is. I mean, obviously for the reasons we said, but it's still kind of baffling to me. But I think definitely this is a show you'll be engaged with. You have strong performances. And then I think the plot and the script is done really well. There was a lot of highlights in this episode I really want to talk about, as we got some new characters, new actors, guest stars. Apparently, we have people who were guesting last season now becoming a reoccurring character, which we'll talk about later as well. So so much to talk about, and we're going to get into it right now. So Lucas, starting off with you, man, we see Bryan Cranston's character, Michael, and granted, if we had not seen the poster, the graphics, and all that other stuff, the trailer, this shot of somebody being in jail, fully beard, frail, left me to think, like, who could this be? Because the way how season 1 left off, there's not a clear indication who got locked, who or why or whoever would have got locked up outside of Eugene.
Would Michael be locked up?
Why would Michael be locked up? So I want to go to you, and that we're going to go full blown critic, but yet as a person who just consumes media for entertainment, what did you think about this opening scene as the reintroduction to Michael the character, but this series?
I think this was the turn scene, where, as you said, this was supposed to be a limited series. I think they said, hey, we're going to reintroduce this character, but change a lot of things about this character while also starting the mystery up from the beginning. Because clearly, if Michael looks absolutely nothing like he looked in episode 10, and we see this disheveled, skinny, frail-looking version of him, something had to happen. Something had to get there. So I think they wanted to, from the jump, like, start off with the mystery up front. So now you have the first mystery of the season. What happened to Michael that we're here? I think that's a great way to start it off, because it dispels any issues with people concerning that this was supposed to be a limited series. Instead, you're like, okay, if Michael is going through this, something had to happen. What piece are we missing that happened that led Michael here? And that's the way you want to start off these type of shows. You want to start off with the intrigue from the get-go. A lot of these shows try to beat you around the bush for at least an episode or two before they get to something of this much intrigue. Here, they decided, hey, we're going to do it from the opening scene. We're going to give you the big character from the opening scene, and we're going to show you him in a way that you've never seen him before, and we're hoping it hooks you. And the moment they pull up to that cell, and I love the camera angle here as he's moving in the bed. You still can't tell who it is. They waited to that pan up shot that you see it's him, and then that's what hooks you completely, because you're like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? So I enjoyed this way of opening the show because of the type of show it is. You need to hook from the beginning, because once I hook you from the beginning, now for the rest of this episode, all I was thinking is, okay, are we going to go back to fully explain how the heck Michael is here? Like, that's what you want, though. That's the hook. Along with the second part of the opening scene, I know we're going to get into it, but the second part of the opening scene intrigued you even more before you found out what was going on.
Yeah. Nah, no doubt, man. And I think like, the light bulb goes off in my head, like, okay, Michael is doing bad. And for Michael to be going bad, that's a physical thing. And you start to wonder, where is he at mentally? Because this guy suffered a lot of loss. He lost his wife season 1. He's had a very interesting relationship with his son, now deceased, in Adam, at the conclusion of season 1. And so now you look at a guy that lost everything. And clearly, he's in jail. He lost his jobs. He lost the only things he's ever known is all gone. And so his will is questionable. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'm going to say at this point now, his will is questionable because you see him just in very, very bad shape. And I've seen some things in this episode I had no clue ever existed in terms of why I will never go to jail, because I plan on never doing any crimes, but I definitely ain't going to jail if some of these activities are really what they are. So we'll talk about those later on. But yeah, going back to your point with the second part of the opening here, we see Eugene and he steps into the hotel where he takes a shot at Adam, which pierces Adam through the neck. I can't even recall if Adam was declared dead then, and maybe they didn't do it because that makes more sense. But now we know that Adam is deceased.
You kind of thought by the end of the first season that, by all intents and purposes, he had killed Adam.
Yes. But beyond Adam being shot, this is a shot into the Baxter's family, which Jimmy, they're a gang, and they're mob family, and if they're gonna have this sort of presence, this is a form of disrespect, however you look at it. And plus, also, this is very close to his daughter Faye, who Adam's girlfriend, and so this is a lot of reasons why this didn't go over well. And while they easily could have just took a step back, and that's also another question: how would the Baxter family respond to this level of disrespect and threat? But for you now that we pick up immediately where we left off at with season 1, what were sort of your thoughts of where do you see the stakes of everything that we got left off on, and the clarity too, now that we know that Adam's dead? What was your thoughts about now getting a little bit more clarity on everything?
First, it was how we're playing with time frames, because when we get from the scene with Michael to this scene, I'm like, okay, where are these time frames playing at, and how does this all correlate to each other? After that, you kind of understood where the Baxters were going to go with this. I mean, as you said before, it's a mob family. You took a shot at our son. What do you think will be the next step as you see them chasing down Eugene and trying to kill him from the beginning? Because they always knew Adam wasn't the threat. Adam wasn't who he was supposed to shoot and kill. They knew that. They fully understood that. So here you're just waiting to see the full ramifications of Eugene's actions. And what we saw in season 1 is a cat and mouse game always being played between Eugene, Kofi, and how both families reacted to how both gangs reacted to everything that was happening here. So when Eugene does this, we fully already understand he did not have the backing. He was told, wait, stand by. We're going to play this a certain way. And he just wasn't for it, and he wasn't going to wait. And at this time, after he takes that shot, you're just wondering, like, okay, what's literally going to be their next step? Is it to hunt him down completely, or for him to have what ends up happening, which is saying, hey, I'm going to make this phone call, and you're going to deliver him to me, or I'm going to kill everybody you love. Like, it's the perfect setup for anyone who forgot just how ruthless the Baxter family was.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, this is a family, besides their daughter. Matter of fact, she's probably the only likable person on this entire show.
And
so you needed to understand, you need to be, again, reintroduced to these characters to fully understand, like, this entire family is violent. Down to the mom who's basically like, no, I want all of them dead. Like, are you joking? You try to kill my son again. We're not going to keep on going through this. They need to die. They need to pay for it. So I thought it was a good reintroduction into the violence of this family. And the big threat of the season or of the show. It's the Baxter family.
Yeah. You know, it's easily to look at this cast and say, "Oh man, Bryan Cranston's in the leading role on television. Must watch." You know, obviously because of how popular, how successful Breaking Bad is. But you know, in every show, and again, when you talk about the recipe of a successful show, you look at your antagonist and your protagonist here. And I've been wanting to say this on the record for a while. I think my Twitter fingers got a hold of it before. But Jimmy Baxter is played by Michael Stuhlbarg. Barg, I think I said.
You should Stuhlbarg. Yeah,
Stuhlbarg.
Unless we're both wrong.
Yeah. Either way, you know, I'll get the pronunciation correct for the next week. What a fantastic performance all of season 1. And while this dad that you've seen in this episode comes off a little reserved, a little meticulous and strategic in his move, understand that he's still the most dangerous person on this series, period. And right now, as we see him kind of taking it easy, is completely petrifying to me, because who knows when that top is going to blow off. And he's getting a lot from all different directions. He had a really amazing speech, which I wish I would have quoted. I'm sure you got my back on this, but he had an amazing speech with his family later on in this episode we'll talk about. And I just have to say that, like, Michael is fantastic. Michael and Bryan really makes this show go. And then we got some other folks coming up on, so we'll talk about in a second. Yeah. So we get the Desire crew. They got a tip that a raid was coming through, and the cops are coming through because they're looking for Eugene. You know, everybody knows that the significance of this scene is everybody knows that it's a young black man who took the shot. I mean, don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, like, they were going to go that route regardless anyway, right? But so everyone is looking for Eugene, and not only are they specifically looking for a young black man, but they're looking for Eugene. They knew where he stayed at, and that's why that raid happened. So now everyone's on high alert. And then the conversation starts to happen, and this is where you get the conversations between Big Mo and Jimmy, and saying, like, listen, this wasn't a hit on your son. You need to control your crew, Big Mo. You can't just be having these folks come out and do things. We again, they thought this was settled, you know, and they talk about, at this point now, I lost count on who's on what revenge now, because everybody's just continues to retaliate.
I'm about to say that's another great part of the show is, in all honesty, you literally have to trace everything back to what Adam did at the beginning. It'd be like, wait a minute, shouldn't all this ended when he died? Because he's clearly the catalyst for everything. But yeah, that's what makes it so great, that we're like, wait a minute. So you're mad at them for doing that, but we're just gonna forget what your son did to Kofi. And okay, yeah, let's just go with that.
That is super important, because for a while I started to wonder, if Adam's dead, then what are we doing here? Not that I'm complaining, but I'm thinking, like, some of these characters have to start falling off their relevance from season 1 if Adam is dead now. So now, you know, we could talk about Faya as well too, who you can say, like, oh, she's just the daughter that was in love with him, and now that conflict's gone, what has she done? And obviously I got a lot to say about that, because we know that angle of the, as you say, the likable daughter who wants to come from under the mob empire. She's already said, like, oh, so this is what we do. I heard rumors, but now I'm starting to see things. I think I'm trying to get up out of here.
The only likable character from season 1. Like, only one.
So we are introduced to Assistant U.S. Attorney Olivia Delmont, who is played by Rosie Perez. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real quick. First, I got to meet her a couple of months ago at New York Comic-Con. Absolute sweetheart. But I got to say, the level of perpetrating I was doing when I met her, because I was acting like I wasn't starstruck. Let me tell you that I have had googly eyes for this woman my entire life. I think she might have been the first woman I've ever looked on TV and said, she is beautiful. And y'all like, well, how? Yeah, listen, the most attractive woman, if you ask me, on White Man Can't Jump. Here you are, but here she is now,
and she was the smartest person on White Men Can't Jump.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you not remember the Jeopardy scenes?
Absolutely.
Come on. Or back to her and Mookie. You stop playing with me, Joe.
She looks fantastic, and this addition to this series definitely was not what I was not expecting. This I didn't look too much into, this is I did
Cast.
the cast. I avoided most of the trailer because when I saw the trailer I thought it was fake. I was like, there's no way, but I was like, oh, it is real. But like I avoided most of it, so this is a surprise casting to me. Very excited, which I had known a couple of months ago because I damn sure would have asked about this, But now she enters as the U.S. attorney, Olivia Delmont, who is here to work alongside of Michael to catch the bad guy. What do you think about this introduction, and where do you see this? And you can cheat forward to the rest of the episode, but what do you think about this tandem that's going on with these two here? Because this is interesting. His new best friend, by the way.
The introduction of Olivia was great. Just her just walking in and sitting down, and right after everything that happened with Michael, from me first thinking it was an electric chair to then me realizing, that was they're going to give him a feeding tube.
Yeah,
so after all that tragedy with him, and then the next thing you see with him involved is him sitting across her, and here is when we get some of the play of exactly why Michael's in prison. That's why I absolutely love this scene between them two, because it's the tidbit she gives. Like, you're in trouble. You need to work with us. You have no choice here. And then even from multiple times where she plays recordings of things that Michael said, and you're still wondering, when the heck did this happen? But it's a beautiful setup because you needed a new character to introduce to this show to intrigue people again, to get you hooked. And who else but Rosie Perez can do this? I mean, it's an amazing performance in this first episode from her because it's so straightforward. Even later on in the episode when we get all the attorneys together and the police together in a room, and she basically lays down a law to everybody. Like, no, he's a small fish.
Yeah,
we need to capture everything. So then we get back to knowing that still the focus of the show is getting the Baxters. That's it. And she's willing to use him in any way, shape, form, or fashion to do so. But just from the introduction, it's a great introduction. It set the season in motion exactly what you're going to be expecting from Michael. Yeah. Now, everything else we go through Michael until the end of the episode, because that last portion of it, and you said I can cheat ahead, so I'm going to go ahead and cheat ahead. That last portion when she played on the tape, when she finally gets Michael hooked, and she basically used the last person he would care about in the world, being Charlie, to say, nope, you wouldn't have said this if you wasn't under the state that you were under. It's such a ruthless move. And she knew exactly what she was doing, down to the phone call on the flip phone, and out. And she said, I'm happy we're working together now. Like, it's just a perfect introduction to exactly. It's a perfect introduction to a new character on a show like this.
Yeah, and the fact that they're willing, everyone was willing to suppress this bit of evidence anyway. I mean, there was, I didn't say everybody, but majority of the folks in the room was willing to suppress evidence because they realized that, like, this is it's a bad PR thing for them, but ultimately too, there's bigger fish to fry. Yeah, going back to the feeding tube real quick, because that was the first thing I forgot to mention, because I was just looking at that and wasn't typing my notes here. I had no clue that was a thing. So that right there kind of broke me. Yes. In terms of not, and like I've seen feeding tubes before, just never down the nose in a way that it was done. And
that's the way it happens when you ever hear about inmates being on hunger strikes. They give you as much leeway as they can with, and that's why I love it when they say you're so frail. Like, it set it up, because at first I'm thinking, well, they can be feeding him to electrocute him because I saw the chair. And I'm thinking, okay, that's what that could be for. But then as the doctor's talking more and more, I'm like, oh my God, no. He's not eating. They're going to put a feeding tube in his nose, because that's the quickest way to get food to your stomach. Actually, it's to pull it all the way down your nose and drain it. Like, it's a hell of a thing for Michael to have to go through. But again, we got to see, why would that be necessary for him to go through it? And again, that's what makes Olivia's character so great from her introduction, because she plays the first recording of Michael admitting that he blew the trial. He set everything up for that boy to get off. And then the last recording, playing it, you basically telling the entire story.
Yeah.
So, how many more recordings does she have on Michael?
Yeah.
That's what
And,
I want to know.
and then, and then obviously the line of him saying like, "You're not going to die here," and you thought that because it's like, well, they obviously don't want him to die. He still, is a human. I mean, you would hope that that's their integrity in jail, but
I'm
understanding
about to
that, like,
say,
no, everybody's on the same page and understanding like, no, this guy's of value. We can't let him
well,
die. I'm not going to
let
let you
me
die. We can't let you die.
let me also say that's why that also threw me off a little bit. You do know, but if you are ever on death row and they're going to electrocute you, if you don't eat, they will force you to eat to keep you alive until they can kill you. So even that threw me off when he said you're not gonna die here. I'm thinking, oh, so they're gonna like put this feeding tube down his throat until they can kill him, which is normal and unfortunately in prison.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what the heck was going on there, but I did love that scene, and I did love the scenes going into introducing us to this new character and her being so forceful. It, by the book of exactly what she wanted. Like, nah, we're not
Yeah.
going after him. We could care less about him.
Yeah.
But we know who he helped set free.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use him to bring them down.
Yep. So now we're seeing Eugene had got snatched up by the Desire crew. They put him in a storage unit. And obviously, just in case you didn't know, Eugene took matters in his hand because Kofi was killed, and not just that too, but like the family. They blew up the house, which is an insane scene from season 1. Just it shows you the threat of the Baxter family. But again, that was sort of an eye for an eye. And listen, if I had time, I would create a little bit of a matrix of who's connected to who, because who did what to who, and that will probably be like a bowl of spaghetti, because there's a lot of different things at this point now. I cannot keep up with like who actually needs to just call it cool, or who actually is due a receipt to because of something has been done.
Just know the most evil person is Adam. The most innocent person is Kofi. That's it. That's all you really need to
know. But yeah, this is now again the conversation. And let me now talk about Andrene Ward-Hammond, who is casted as Big Mo, who last season was just there as a guest star. She was in a couple of episodes, and actually I just learned this the other week too. In order to be considered a reoccurring, to be called a season regular, you have to have more than 8 episodes. So she's a little bit short of it, but like, let it be known that Big Mo fingerprints was there when it needed to be there. Big Mo, now again promoted to season regular this season, as the leader of the formidable Desire gang, who is in second hand to Little Mo, who you will see she bounces off of a lot as well too. But I really did enjoy this character last season, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more from Adrian's performance this year, and the elevation of this character this season with Big Mo. But Big Mo and Jimmy, yeah, they're going to keep exchanging phone calls to figure out who got who man's under control. And we get to the part where we see Carlo trying to just be some random white guy going through the Lord in life as if they wasn't going to easily identify him. Come on now, like, come on. What's your thoughts about Carlo in general? Carlo from last season, and then this tactic of Carlo trying to take matters into his own hand. I failed the attempt.
Every time I see Carlo on screen, I think of Tupac. Shorty want to be a thug. He wants to so bad to live up to his father, to live up to the reputation of what it means to be a Baxter, and he does the dumbest things, even from season 1. Like, we're in this issue of people trying to kill him because of a stupid action he did in season 1, and he continues the stupid action here. It's the parallels they show between him and Eugene having the exact same issue, not letting the adults handle the problem, and instead you interject yourself in a situation you didn't have to do at all. From when we see him in his car, and you're like, wait a minute, I know he didn't just drive down there to try to. by himself to try to do, and then he just walks up to a random black guy. Hey guy, hey you, come here. Like, what sense does that make? Like, they wouldn't understand, oh, you don't belong here, or that they wouldn't know who you are.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, everyone knows you killed Kofi. Everyone. Just because you got off on it don't mean you're innocent here. So you already have a target on your back. Your family has a target on their back. What makes you think you could go down there and try to pull this off? Again, though, it's just Shorty want to be a thug, and he keeps on making the dumbest decisions in the world. Again, that's what made the speech by the dad at the end so powerful.
Yeah.
About patience. Or, as he says at the end, which is still my favorite line of this, violence doesn't make you strong.
Yeah.
Like, that's a hell of a thing to say. But like, violence doesn't show strength. And this is Carlo's biggest issue, because he actually thinks it does. And here in this whole scene, this whole setup is someone who thinks, I'm just gonna go down here and shoot him, man. They'll understand they can't mess with us. No, that's not the way that works.
Yeah, I will also double down on this in terms of statements said, because you quoted two of my favorites in this episode, but I'm go back to more of my adolescence days, and I love this whole thing of Carlos saying, "Do you know who my family is? And do you know what would happen if you do something to me?" And Big Mo with the line I haven't heard in so long, but I loved it. If was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. And yep, I need more of that. Again, Adrian, I need a lot more of Big Mo. And if we're gonna get if the script's going, I mean, the script was fantastic last season, but like, we're really gonna let them get
shout out to the writers for putting that line in there.
Yeah,
it really takes from people from being down in that area. Yeah. And black folks in general. Yeah. We all know that line. We may change it a little bit, but we all know the moment he said if, and she said if. If was a fifth, we all be drunk. Or as another one, if was a fifth, we all be fucked up. Like, it's the same thing. And it's like, when I heard the line, I said, now that's good writing, because that's so an authentic thing for her to say at that moment to him.
Yeah, that's my part.
It's a threat. Also, like, I'm sorry, I got excited the moment I heard that line.
Me too.
Like, dude, that's the Not only is she making fun of him saying if, she's also threatening his life. Like, if, like, oh, you think you're actually gonna come out of here? Like, it's a perfect setup.
Yeah, listen, the script was fantastic last season. If they're gonna really dive into the New Orleans and the black culture and lingo and sayings, I'm all for it. And this is just an indication that, like, we're definitely going to be strapping up for some of this, so I can't wait. So anyway, Fia goes to see Michael in jail. She introduces herself as if he doesn't know who she is, and then, you know, this is just her trying to get clarification about her relationship with Adam. She said, you know, did Adam really love me? And said, like, listen, Adam's a terrible liar, so, you know, there was, you know, it is what it is. But obviously she's been writing him every month because she obviously has a big secret to tell him. I think this I thought two things. One, I thought what we're going to talk about later, but I also thought, like, maybe she was aware of just the trauma that he was enduring, because she was also sharing it as well too, and she clearly didn't have an outlet to exercise that at, because her family definitely was kind of using Adam as collateral a little bit here, but never really cared for him. And I even think when they started to accept him, it was all too late because of what happened. So you know, anything you want to add about that scene, her going to see Michael in jail? Or
I thought it was just a scene about her needing to more emotionally connect to Adam. I did not piece together what we saw at the end of the episode at all. That was as far from my mind as humanly possible. Because when you played their relationship in season 1, it was always the question of how much Adam cared for her. So I thought it was so natural for her to constantly go to Michael or write Michael to find out more information about Adam. Because all she knew is that him and his father had a close relationship. So she would assume if y'all had a close relationship, he would tell you about me. You would know how much you care for me. It's that he was taken suddenly away from her as much as he was taken suddenly away from Michael. And part of mourning normally is you reaching out to someone else who you know is going through the exact same thing you're going through. And that's why I figured she was reaching out to Michael, because she's still mourning the loss of Adam. I didn't think what we got at the end of the episode was the reason why she was reaching out to Michael. That threw me for a loop at the end of the episode.
I mean, listen, I kind of knew something was brewing up because, like I said, what's her relevance in this season? And we do get, and I don't even know where I have it in my notes, but I'll just bring it up now, where she has the conversation with her father in terms of like, when does this all end? Like, I had heard things about us in this family, but now that I'm seeing things really come to light and being shown, you know, there's a mouthful of resentment coming towards all of the violence and everything that they're involved with. So like, I easily think like, okay, well, she's going to try to come from under her family, which her family is seemingly trying to operate all cohesively, but she's trying to do what we've seen in every other show. I mean, when you talk about Godfather Harlem, which we're also reviewing right now too, folks. You can check that recap and review out, available right now, each and every week. But it's the same thing with Stella on that show, and it's kind of just like, you know, and granted, it's not to the same degree as Stella, but it is the same as saying like we both lost the men that we love due to the violence because of what our fathers are involved with. So, you know, where does she go from this? And then obviously what we find out at the end just really makes this a lot more complicated.
And I think that's what's also throwing me off here. Stella and Michael's scene are on a different timeline than the rest of these scenes that we're seeing. Because keep in mind, like, everything that's happening with Eugene and Carlo happened right after Adam was shot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a spoiler. At the end of the episode, she has a baby.
Yeah,
like, and Michael's been in prison for a while. Those are two different times. I think that's what's throwing me off about her and her family, because we don't know the state of her family from her timeline yet.
That's true. Yeah, there's definitely two different timelines, and I think it's good that we do not have time cues.
Exactly.
Because that's just why we get to talk about these things. So exactly. To the point that we should make sure it's very clear. And maybe we'll get into it more next week. But yeah, there's definitely two timelines going on at the same time. And while they look to be blending in certain scenes, just got to keep in mind that they're not.
They're separate, so you don't get confused.
Yeah.
She may be running the family now. You never know.
Going to the thing I had no clue was a thing. Prison rodeo and convict poker. Now I've heard of some hood ass nigga games around the block, but I ain't never heard nothing like this. This a new one right here now, there, boy.
In all the prison reform and slavery acts I've ever seen, how the hell is this? And keep in mind, I know people gonna say, man, it's just a TV show. They wouldn't put it in here if this wasn't something someone was doing. Do you know how horrible this is to say, man, y'all just inmates anyway, we're gonna let the bull decide which one of you gonna survive. This was the craziest shit I've ever seen on a television show.
Yeah.
And my man said again, another perfect line in this episode. He said the messed up part is
the bull decides
we up here doing all this. It's the bull who decides who wins. Like, you gonna have to beat me and put me back in the cell. I am not participating in your rodeo, sir. That is just not gonna happen, Joe.
And to that point, like, you know, the other prisoner, he basically said he's doing it because he's trying to make money for his family. So Michael's here because he's given up on life. He's actually trying to kill himself, and I think him losing makes sense here, because I think we need to see that he's truly at rock bottom in all accounts here. He has no reason to be here. So what are you doing here, Judge? So he has no reason to be there. He desires to be there because he realizes that there's nothing left for him out there, where you hear the declaration, I'm doing this for my family. And like, what are you doing here? No answer. I'm just here for the shits, you know? And the bull said,
shits and giggles.
And the bull's like, bet, say less. I'm gonna pull up.
I got you, homie. You ain't got to worry about it, dog.
Yeah,
I got
no
you.
doubt. No doubt. Here's this L for you real quick. He definitely gave him that TCU L, like real
Hey,
nice and
hey,
fat. He said, you hold
man,
this one,
I got you,
okay? You
Mo.
had no
Like,
business.
man, I got you. Let me give you these fentanyl horns. I got you.
You had no business being here. So I'm gonna give you this nice championship L really quickly for you. Going back to the Baxter family, we have Jimmy, and I was just gonna put it here on the notes, but like just keep an eye out for Gina, Jimmy's wife, and her bond and very oddly relationship with Carlo. This is not unfamiliar relationship things too. Now, granted, Gina is definitely still grieving for the loss of her son. She's overly protective of her other son in Carlo, who's always been problematic. And obviously she's looking for Jimmy to retaliate on all accounts. Everybody has a different train of thoughts in action here. Because Carlo tried to take things in his own hand, didn't work. Gina's like, well, we need to go back down stronger, and that's how we retaliate. We retaliate because Carlo messed up, and now we need to retaliate because it's the weirdest thing, but it just lets you know her position in the family. And then Jimmy is preaching patience and everything that you said earlier, and I'll give you a second to add any other context to that. But just keep an eye out for Gina, because Gina is definitely giving me very odd yet creepy vibes with her love for her son. And again, listen, I foreshadow it a little bit because it's not something I haven't seen before. I've seen this where the mom becomes overly in love with the son, and it creates.
Is it love for the
tension.
son or the love for power?
Either way, I mean, it's the same thing at this point, because she I think she looks at Carlo in the way that she used to look at Jimmy. The fear of what Carlo creates, and
the forcefulness of what Carlo creates. Because Jimmy was once a young hothead, and she sees that in her son. I'm not saying it's a romantic connection. I'm more or less saying it's like, I wish this was still my husband, and a proud mother who's accepting of Carlo saying, we need to go back there with more men. And Jimmy like, no, that makes no sense to do that. Didn't you learn anything from you trying to do this before?
No.
And then her backing up her son like, no, this is not how we do business. We need to go down there and be forceful. It's the parallels of a bunch of high heads and one calm person. And we're seeing the separation of the kids.
Yeah.
So when you say the daughter is more like Jimmy at this point, and the son is more like his mom, like it's that separation that you see. And that's what makes, again, me always point out, like, I wonder when we do unravel these timelines more and more, how the positions of the family look now. Because again, you can't, high heads tend not to live that long.
Oh, sure.
So I'm wondering, like, how is this going to go? And the mom clearly is a psychopath, and I'm waiting for her to turn on Jimmy.
Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. And I think that was really the shocking factor at the conclusion of season 1. Is like, you easily thought that he shot Carlo and killed Carlo.
Yeah.
And it happened to be Adam. So now it's just like, Carlo clearly has to be on borrowed time, but we'll see how it plays out. Also, I should have mentioned, when the Desire Boys shot in the car, they put that bullet in the middle of their headrest. What an accurate shot to miss, to strike fear of saying, do not fuck around and come through here. What did you think as a person who's trained? What did you think about like the ballistics of this?
I'm just not gonna even attempt that shot, and I'm a great shot. Not gonna attempt that shot, Joe. That's a hell of a shot to even attempt to make. And say, I could do this shot and not kill him. Nah, and there's no telling. That shit could ricochet off of something by mistake. Anything could have happened, and he would have ended up dead. Like, again.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine that episode 1 and Carlo gets killed off of a lower level, like, street dude from the crew,
and then
that wasn't an order hit.
Now going on a run, like it's just they'd have been like, look, it's too much at this point. It's too much. We still have enough.
Holy hell! Did he? Ooh, man. Anyway, I'm gonna go through a couple of last things in this episode. Eugene is being taken to the bus station, said to leave town, stay gone. Eugene better not come back. I don't know whatever type of looks he was trying to give on that bus, but He better not come back. And honestly, if this is the last time we see Eugene, then so be it. Because that's again, I'm starting to say, like, if Adam is dead, what more relevance do we have with this character? Especially how they put the nail in the coffin with this character, which we'll talk about in a second.
Hey.
But homie that let Eugene go, being able to identify what was going to happen with him and kind of showing him grace was a very risky call, which we've seen this before, going back to Power, where they told
I'm about to say,
Crackhead Sam.
Scene,
yeah,
this whole scene is Power.
Yep. Crackhead Sam, get out of town. Yep. So Big Mo calls and say, "Hey, where's he at?" And Big Mo is meeting with Charlie, and Charlie and the other and the police officer saying, "Listen, hand over the killer because we need to reassure the residents of New Orleans, the voters, that were safe."
Yep.
And then they quickly, I mean, this is now again, Big Mo has already appeared to be intelligent, obviously running the game, but when you talk about the moving pieces and being able to think on the fly, here's another example of a profile with this character. She says, "Fine, well, we don't have him, not a problem," because easily could have said, "We'll get him and we'll bring him to you next." Nah, don't worry about it. Y'all just do what y'all usually do. Find a body.
Yep.
Make him Eugene. And y'all need to go out there and put the statement out there and say, "We got the killer. They have been dead." Said that it was self-inflicted by they didn't say this, but that's the word on the street. Says not self-inflicted, but it was word on the street is that he was done by his own folks, which Jimmy definitely had a huge question mark about that. He's like,
he clearly looked like, nah, that's not the conversation we had. I don't know about that.
And I know they better not have this man Jimmy out here searching town to town for this little boy. But anyway, but they said, do what you got to do. And that's where, going forward, the cop went to the corner and paid the money and said, make him look like him, put a gunshot in his head. And that's what it's going to be. And I'm also going to just throw in there that with Charlie, who's running for mayor, which is why he needs the votes, he puts out the most passionate speech to convince the folks that we are safe, and and getting the folks of New Orleans to rally behind him. I'm gonna, and let me just sum up the entire end of this episode, and I'll give it to you. This is Olivia securing Michael's release, and all things are now aiming towards getting Jimmy Baxter. And if you're not going to do it for anybody, do it for Charlie. Is what her motivation is behind her, and obviously because this is again where she makes him listen to the tape, and now we're like, he's dead to rights here, but like do it for Charlie here. Like I said, Eugene better not even think to come back. Faya has a baby. You mentioned about the timeline difference here, which is a really key pivotal note. How much time has passed since we have one timeline picking up immediately after season 1. Then we have another timeline where obviously my man Michael has been in jail for a while, got a whole beard and everything, and she came to see him. So trying to figure out that and the stakes of the family in that timeline, because we've only been because we're only been seeing the rest of our family in the first timeline. So we have
everybody else, not just her family.
The
only ones we've seen in the second timeline is
Bryan, Olivia, Michael, and
Michael. That's it. We've not seen anyone else in this timeline yet. So that's what's keeping me so interested, because I'm like, okay, what's going on? We do know that clearly Charlie's still alive, and she keeps, and Olivia said the interesting thing when she said this would be the end of his career completely. What point is he at in his career here? Did he get the Ninth Ward Child's project off the ground and have everyone be safe? We don't know yet. Like, that's like, these are the things we building up on here.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're seeing the end of Eugene at all. He's coming back, because in the end, you still killed his entire family.
That's true.
I don't think he's gonna let that go.
Yep, that's true. So overall, because that's the end of this episode, lot of shocking details towards the end. Anything else you want to add here, or any other predictions, or anything I didn't cover that you want to make sure we get in before we wrap up?
Again, just pay close enough attention to understand again that you're operating off of two different timelines, because that's the most important part of this episode. And it's the most confusing part for a lot of people, because I didn't pick up on it for a minute there. But pay attention to that, because if they continue the season this way, that's a hell of a way to introduce you until it runs concurrent with Michael being released and we seeing how Michael got arrested in the first place. Like, that is what's going to make this thing completely blow up. But I'm looking forward to Eugene coming back, because I think he's definitely going to come back. And I'm wondering the ramifications of him coming back for everyone, because his body has been declared his. So that means we know people were paid off to say it was him. And how does that affect Big Mo? Because if she's using this cover up to clear the table with the Baxters, if he comes back, that table's wide open again. And what effect would that have on their business currently if that happens? But that's it, I think. Like, other than that, man, it's the first episode. You gotta wait.
Yeah. A lot to discuss. Again, Andrene Ward-Hammond,
who is
just
also killing on multiple shows at this point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's unfortunate because I thought that the show had a lot of star power, but like when you think about some of the bright spots in 61st Street, she was one. And that's fine because she bounces back with this because that had got canceled for this season 2.
Did her character get killed on Manifest, or did she return for it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely not in the newer one, but recently in 61st Street. Yeah, so we got a lot to look forward to. And we're here each and every week, folks. You get in the comments, let us know your thoughts, your predictions for season 2 of Your Honor. Let us know all your thoughts about this episode 1, which is part 11 of season 2. We're here each and every week. We have numerous shows going on right now, so you have a ton to check out. So much content, so much work, but we're having fun doing it. And we would appreciate if you all make sure you do us a favor and hit the like button, subscribe, and participate in the comments. Your thoughts and theories will be down there to communicate with you as well. But as always, folks, we'll be back each and every week with your recap here. Y'all stay safe, and we'll see you then.